Welcome back. Welcome back. Hope you guys are doing well. So today I'm going to be talking about this whole Candace Owens versus Erika Kirk fiasco. And I kind of held off talking about this. I kind of didn't want to talk about it. I probably should have started talking about it a while ago, but here we are. And also, if you aren't aware about it, it could be one of two things. You either live under a rock or you just do not care about politics. But if you care about politics, you know for a fact that this beef has been going on for a couple of months now, ever since Charlie Kirk was assassinated or murdered, depending on what vocabulary word you prefer to use. And yeah, it's just been a complete mess. Now, one thing I will say is that I have been keeping up closely with a lot of the news that have been going on both sides. And one thing that I can't really stand is like when people make comments about or full segments about something that they really don't know about. And one thing that I've noticed is that a lot of people have been doing a ton of commentary on this entire situation, but most of them haven't watched any of Candace's episodes. Like, I just don't understand. Now, granted, I am not a fan of Candace Owens at all. But I do admire how she's going hard in the paint for her best friend. And even though I don't have the best, perspective about Charlie Kirk himself based off of the things that he said in the past, at the end of the day, I do admire how she's taking up for her friend. If she believed in a lot of the things that he said and she wants to back him 21st, like she wants to back him wholeheartedly, she has the right to do that. Now, based off of what a lot of people are saying, you have two sides. One side is just like, hey, that wasn't your boyfriend. That wasn't your husband. Why do you care so much? And then you have the other people who are saying, oh my God, thank you so much for caring. It seems like you care more than his wife does, right? About whether or not this investigation is solved and we actually find out who was the real murderer or murderers that, took this man out. So a lot of people, especially on the Democratic side, are trying to push this narrative that these are all conspiracy theories and all this and all that. One thing I cannot stand that Democrats always do is they swear up and down Republicans, conservative people are just a bunch of hoo-has that are just riddled in conspiracy theories. Like they can never think straight without turning something into a conspiracy theory. But then they'll turn around and do the same shit. So it's just like, anyways, this entire situation has been insane. So if you don't know what's going on, I'll just give you a quick synopsis right now to kind of get you caught up. And then we're going to look into a situation that took place right before Erika Kirk finally agreed to having a meeting with Candace Owens, in which I don't personally agree with how it went down, because it's giving me they're trying to control the narrative and someone's getting paid off. Like, it's real weird. So I'll just give you a quick synopsis on like what took place that got to this point. So apparently, not just Candace Owens, but a lot of people feel as though that this whole Tyler Robinson thing, as far as the young man who was claimed to have been the one to shoot the gun that then led to Charlie Kirk being assassinated, a lot of people don't believe that Tyler Robinson was the murderer. Okay. Now, they claim that it was a specific type of gun, rifle, and for some strange reason, a lot of people who are gun experts are just saying there is no way that that man would have still had a head if he got shot even 100 feet away with that particular rifle. So someone's lying, right? And based off of a lot of the footage that has been coming out from students and different camera angles that was filmed on that day at the university campus, they're saying that there was no way that that shot could have come from that particular angle if Tyler Robinson was sitting on top of the building that they said he was on top of. Okay. And then also, based on the type of rifle that he had, there was no way he could have set up that rifle and then took it apart and got away in the time frame in which they claimed he set up the rifle. He got on the roof, set up the rifle, took the shot, dismantled the rifle, and then jumped off the roof. Like, there was no way that rifle was able to be set up and broken down that quickly. Okay. But then also they're trying to figure out, okay, where's the actual gun that you guys claim that you found? How is it that the text message that you claimed he sent his boyfriend, who was supposed to be considered a furry? So they're trying to pin this kid as being a lefty, but then they claim that he was a groiper because he followed Nick Fuentes. And child, the story just kept getting funkier and funkier. Okay. And they're trying to pin that he is a lefty because they don't want him to be conservative, even though his entire family are conservative Republicans. So I'm confused. So maybe he ventured away from being a conservative Republican and he just wanted to do his own thing. He wouldn't necessarily consider himself a lefty, but a groiper is not a lefty. Like, they're far from being a lefty. If anything, they're radical extremists on the right side. So I just find it really funny how the whole battle of whether or not he was right or left was a huge thing. But then when Candace Owens started speaking out, all of that shit just went out the window. Like, it didn't matter whether or not he was a lefty or a righty. It didn't matter whether or not he was a groiper. It didn't matter whether or not he was a furry. She doesn't think he did it at all, and she thinks that he's being framed. And based off of her and what she's saying, she feels as though it was another group of individuals who have been doing a lot of things in this country, putting us under their foot, if you get what I'm saying. So it's like, okay, between her, Tucker Carlson, and a whole bunch of other really big voices in the political space, a lot of them have been looking sideways at the entire situation, and they don't trust anything that the FBI has said at this point. And Kash Patel is just being made out to be one of the biggest fools on the planet, which, based off of how he's been going about it, they're not too far off at all. You know, he hasn't done what he's supposed to have been doing to get this case solved. So with that being said, a lot of people have been trying to say that she's bullying Erika Kirk and that she shouldn't do this. All she's doing is making Erika look bad. And mind you, she hasn't said anything about Erika at all in regards of accusing her of anything. But what she has said was that she feels as though a lot of people who work for Charlie's organization, which is called Turning Point USA, has had a lot to do, and they were aware that this was going to happen. How were they aware? Well, it's being alleged that Charlie texted a few people in his camp and said that, I think that they're going to kill me today, which was the night before, which was the morning of the event in which he was killed. So it's a lot of funky, nasty mess going on. So all this to say that there's been a lot going on, and Erika Kirk has completely ignored Candace. Candace has given Erika Kirk quite a bit of opportunities to tell her to stop her investigation and to, give her time to figure it out and things like that. And Erika hasn't said anything. She kind of went radio silent when it came to talking to Candace. She didn't even invite the girl to the funeral, like none of that. So it's like, now that we're at the point to where so many other big voices are starting to pick up the story, now all of a sudden Erika is speaking out. And it's just like, girl, okay, you could have called her up if you knew that was one of Charlie's good friends. Why didn't you then talk to her? You have completely ignored her this entire time, and you're going to sit up here and act like she wasn't a dynamic part in the beginnings and the start of Turning Point USA. So it's like very disrespectful behavior, but look at who we're talking about. Like, seriously, look at who we're talking about. So it's like now it has gotten so big that it has started crumbling, and I mean absolutely crumbling, the Republican Party. Like MAGA and the Republican Party are at each other's throats about this entire situation and a whole host of other stuff that Trump is doing. And then it's just a lot of like really radical right wingers are losing their minds, like Tim Pool, crazy ass. They call him Beanie Shapiro, which is a fitting name because the dude is wacko. So he's like losing his mind about whether or not Candace is grifting and she's making all this money. And then now Erika is taking those same talking points and using them. And I'm just like, what is going on? All y'all had to do was just have a private conversation months ago and this shit would have never took place. Okay. So now let's look at this particular segment that Kim Iverson did. And she pointed out a couple really good points regarding why a lot of people have started building a conspiracy around Erika Kirk, even though Candace never did that. She's always kept her points straightforward. She's always talked about Israel. She's always talked about France. And she's always talked about the staff at Turning Point USA, which are the top guys that are pretty much running everything around Erika Kirk. So this was Charlie Kirk's leading team. She has never said that she feels as though Erika Kirk has anything to do with it, but the audience, almost from day one, has called Erika Kirk out on being very fake and performative, and they do not believe her. And they feel as though she has a lot to do with what happened to Charlie Kirk. And Kim is about to point out a couple really interesting things to kind of give credence to why people feel like that. So let's take a look at her video.
So there have been some conspiracies around Erika Kirk. And, I normally would leave a grieving widow alone, but she's now put herself in the spotlight. She's out there making the rounds. So I think that it's time and it's okay to address some of the various conspiracy theories that have been going around regarding Erika Kirk. Now, some of these might be true. Some of them might be debunked. And we're going to go through a few of them. But first, let's just go ahead and take a look at some of the media rounds that she's been doing. Most notably, she sat down with Bari Weiss, the head Zionist of CBS News. Bari Weiss, who Tucker Carlson says should have never been promoted higher than a secretary, has been promoted to the head of ABC News. Or is it CBS News? Which one is it? I think it's ABC News. Am I wrong? Which one is it? Which one is Candace? Is Bari Weiss CBS? She's CBS News. Okay. So she sits down with Bari Weiss. This is now a lot of people are suspecting some of the conspiracies around Erika Kirk have been that she's major Zionist. Okay. That her parents are major Zionists, that her parents, her dad in particular, worked for Raytheon, it was the head of the Israeli division and was a top head, that was helping design the Iron Dome. That her parents are major Zionists, that Trump, she was Miss Arizona 2012, and that was when it was Trump's organization at the time. The Miss Universe organization was owned by him. And the thinking, so she's known Trump for a long time. She didn't meet Charlie Kirk until 2019. And there's a thinking that Trump and his team actually set her up with Charlie Kirk, that Trump was the one who facilitated the interview. That Charlie Kirk and Erika Kirk met through an interview. She was interviewing for a job at TPUSA, and Charlie Kirk infamously said, "I don't want to hire you, I want to date you." And then they started dating instead, and then they ended up married. And the theory is that Trump actually set them up. And that this is, the overall assumption. And then there's also a conspiracy theory that we're going to get into about her organization, a charitable organization linked to a Romanian children's charity that people say is linked to child trafficking. We're going to talk about that.
I mean, like, wow. So one thing that I've always found really interesting is how your family has extremely deep ties, not on just your father's side, but mostly on your mom's side. And you have extremely deep ties still to this day to Israel and the Jewish community, but you claim that you're not one of them. I just find that to be very strange. And it's like she's posing as if she is a Christian, like just a regular Christian woman. But then a lot of the things that she claimed that was going on in her household were very Jewish based. And I'm just like, I don't know what Christian person would be doing that type of stuff, but okay. And then she made claims that, oh, it took a while to get like Charlie used to doing these types of things and to saying these types of things, as if she was trying to kind of push him to that side of. And so I'm just like, I don't really know. Like, I don't really know what's going on. So I totally understand why people feel a certain way about this woman and why people think that, no, she was very well aware of what could have possibly took place with her husband. Oh gosh. And then it's just like the fact that she said so many things that kind of hint back to why people think that she possibly was aware that this was going to happen and she did nothing to stop it. And now she's the head of this man's organization and she doesn't want anyone to question Israel. But okay.
Um, but the premise of a lot of these conspiracies is that Erika Kirk is basically a giant Zionist and that she's doing the bidding of Israel. And it is odd
Mhm.
that after Charlie gets killed, and a lot of people are suspicious that the reason he was killed was because he suddenly was turning on Israel, that they tried to stage an intervention, that he was, and then even 3 days before he was killed, he still said, I'm giving up on I'm giving up on Israel, basically. I'm turning my back on them. So the conspiracy is that Erika is deeply Zionist, that she's deeply entrenched with the Israelis, or that she's blackmailed or controlled by them. So it's one or the other. It's either she's got the motivation herself, or it's that somebody behind the scenes is influencing, blackmailing, manipulating her against her will. So it's either with her will or against her will. But nonetheless, the theory is that it's happening, that she was then made the CEO of TPUSA, and she's now making the media rounds, and that she's saying and doing all these things that are indicating her love for Israel, and that she is going to be making sure that TPUSA stays in the lane of pro-Israel. It's the most influential political organization for young people, and it needs to stay pro-Israel, and that's what the Israeli Zionist lobby is afraid of, that Charlie Kirk was going to take in a different direction. Although,
So I find that interesting for them to say that they feel like she's possibly being held against her will. That is a great possibility, but let's be very clear. Her mother is about this life. Like Kim is going to go over the companies that her mom has started, and very quickly you're going to be like, "Oh, that's a bunch of bullshit." Like that girl isn't being held against her will at all. And I find it so funny how people are always so quick to give women who look like Erika Kirk a pass when it's just like, it's very blatantly obvious that her family knows how these people are. And they've been living this lifestyle for a very long time. And if anything, her mom is her handler. So let's be very clear. This woman is not being held against her will. She doesn't look it at all. Like even from day one, who being held against their will smiles like that less than a week after their husband was assassinated, and she's taking the seat on his show. Like, I'm not saying that it's impossible, but for me, when my niece passed away from cancer, it was very hard for me to smile for weeks after she passed away. And it took months for me to not be able to break down in tears whenever we said her name. And that was my niece, right? Like, I didn't see my niece every single day. I wasn't with her every single day. She wasn't my child, but she kind of was, right? And it's just like, your siblings' kids feel like your kids as well, feel like they're your kids as well. So her passing away at such a young age, it's kind of like, it took me almost a year to be able to even look at her pictures and or say her name without crying. This woman says this man's name like he's just some dude that she knew. like, like I don't get it. Like how? And maybe I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to have to find that out until I'm an old woman, and me and mines is on our way kicking the can together, right? But this will be 100+ years from now, hopefully 200, if science goes the way we want it to go. But it's just like I don't get how you could be that close and that in love with someone, and you're like able to say their name and do like public events and laugh and smile and kiki with people less than a week after your husband was murdered, like brutally murdered on television, like on camera. So none of it makes sense to me. Anyways, so let's get back into what Kim has to say.
Much of the TPUSA youth are already in that other direction. Whenever they hold an event, you got a lot of people standing up and asking questions about Israel and foreign influence in our government. And a lot of those kids that are at those college campuses don't like any of it. So good luck to TPUSA turning that ship around. I don't think they can. But nonetheless, they seem to be trying. And it seems, whatever the motivation be, whether it be by choice or by force, it seems that Erika Kirk is trying to steer TPUSA still in the Zionist pro-Israel lane.
Which is
Now,
so weird.
Then others argue, but Charlie Kirk is dead, so we cannot ask him. They'll say, no, Charlie wasn't turning on Israel. He was still deeply pro-Israel. He's still very much in the cause of Israel. You saw Netanyahu, strangely, say multiple times after Charlie was killed the same day, how much of a friend Charlie was to Israel, and he was a great ally and a great friend. And, we've seen this narrative be spun at us, which is that, no, Charlie was definitely not turning on the Israel cause. He was super deeply pro-Israel. And so Erika is starting to make these rounds. And
also Netanyahu came out multiple times claiming that he has nothing to do with the murder of Charlie Kirk. So a lot of people have been feeling iffy about that.
I got to say, these media rounds that she's making are not helping with the conspiracies against her. Whatever the motivation be, whether there be a conspiracy against her or not, about whether she's controlled or she's doing it on her own, her appearances are not helping. First of all, to sit down with Bari Weiss, the head Zionist of all Zionists, who was just installed at CBS News by the Ellison family, and she's been accused of being a Mossad agent. Then she sat there and did that stupid interview where she's like, "Oh, so you're Mossad? So what's Mossad exactly? I get accused of being Mossad, but what is Mossad?" Like, this head journalist of CBS doesn't even know what Mossad is. That's how stupid Bari Weiss can seem sometimes. She's made a lot of dumb statements. I don't think Bari Weiss is stupid, but I do think she's made some really eyebrow-raising comments. But nonetheless, Erika sits down with Bari Weiss. That's alarming in and of itself. I think anybody who sits down with Bari Weiss, you got to think they're probably pro-Zionist, because Bari wouldn't platform you unless you were. So here's a clip from her interview with Bari Weiss talking about Candace Owens.
The podcaster Candace Owens, okay? At one time, a friend of Charlie's, at one time, an employee of Turning Point. She has been one of the main peddlers of these conspiracies, and she is making a huge amount of money on it. She is building her business off of these lies. What do you want to say to her and the other people that are putting these lies out into the world right now?
Stop. That's it. That's all I have to say. Stop.
I mean, the eyes of a blue-eyed devil. I mean, Jesus Christ. Lay off with the mascara, lady. Like, please. And it's like, I find it quite interesting that when, like, people don't understand, like, makeup theory, and, like, how when you put on certain types of makeup, it gives off a certain mood, a certain vibe, and it can be quite manipulating if you know how to do it, right? So I think her now coming out with this dark eyeliner, making her eyes seem mysterious and like daring and devilish. I think she's doing that on purpose, if you ask me. And this is coming from someone who loves makeup. So you can look up a bunch of different makeup tutorials, and there are so many MUAs, which is makeup artists, that will explain to you that depending on what your eye color is and depending on your skin tone And also, depending on what type of mood you want to go for, they will tell you what type of makeup to wear. So it's like, I feel like she's manipulating the audience by wearing the type of makeup that she's currently wearing. No one has actually said anything about that, because mostly men and, people who don't clearly wear makeup, they haven't said anything about that. And it's mainly because of the fact that, if they're not into that space and they're not crossing over from a different industry like the makeup or fashion industry, they wouldn't really have a perspective on that. But I do feel as though her hair, her makeup, and her jewelry is very manipulative. Everything that she's doing is extremely manipulative. So that eyeliner, though, is something that is standing out to people. Like her eyes and the anger in her eyes is standing out to a lot of people. And her mascara and her makeup choices is the reason as to why it's standing out to people so greatly. But besides that, not homegirl saying that Candace is making a ton of money off of peddling these conspiracies about Charlie Kirk. Like, hold up. Y'all have y'all nerve to sit there and say that anyone is making money coming up with conspiracies about this man and what happened to them, when literally his wife and Turning Point USA has made the most money. I mean, they instantly started panhandling right after the man got killed. So I'm trying to figure out what the hell this woman is talking about. And it's like Candace has made crumbs in comparisons to how much they have made because of what Candace is doing. Because all it's doing is drawing a lot of attention and publicity to their organization. And don't think for a fact that there aren't people who donate to causes because they don't like the other person or the opposing person. They don't even have to know who you are or like you. They'll just donate to your cause if someone that they don't like is your enemy. So people are trifling like that. At the end of the day, this woman has been on a press tour. They have raised so much money through panhandling. Her being a sad, grieving widow with 2 kids, and she needs money, right? They've also sold tons and tons of merch at the man's funeral. They made over $9 million selling merch. Like, that's insane. And then they just did a event at Mar-a-Lago where they made over $40 million in donations. So it's just like, this is not fucking normal. Like, this is literally not normal. This company is probably more successful now that this man is dead than it was when he was here. Now, granted, it was successful when he was here, but the amount of success that they were achieving started to make him feel weird, where he said in a letter that he wrote to his company literally a couple days before he got killed that he was going to launch an internal Doge program. That right there should let you know that he did not feel comfortable with what was going on financially in his own organization. He started pointing out the fact that there was a lot of donations coming from places that he did not know where it was coming from. He did not want most of those donations. So him not knowing who donated that money made him feel quite strange. And then he also made a point of him not knowing where a lot of that money was going. And interestingly enough, is he a accountant? So there was this YouTuber who was either an accountant or a lawyer / accountant who did a full breakdown of all of Turning Point USA's financial filings over the last, I think, 3 to 4 years. And I mean, there was lots of money that was being funneled into places that wasn't trackable. I mean, millions and millions upon millions of dollars were just vanishing. And that only sets a precedent for why Charlie wrote that letter about creating an internal Doge program. And then also it was said that he had turned down a very large donation from Bibi Netanyahu, which is the president of Israel. It's a lot of going on. So I just find it real distasteful that they're now trying to run with this narrative that Candace is making all this money when literally everyone who's been talking about this situation has made a lot of money. I mean, not me. This is my first time talking about it, so I don't have no dog in the fight. And I would be surprised if, I'm not even monetized yet, so I haven't made a dime off of this. But it's just like, I just find it so like distasteful that people are trying to point out how much money she's made when literally all of these YouTubers and all of these commentators from the news on down to other YouTubers have all made a crap ton of money off of talking about the situation. And even they have done tons of segments bashing Candace. So you guys have also earned quite a bit of money due to the attention that you're receiving. I mean, it's all sick. So I'm going to skip to the part where Kim talks about Erika's mom and her dad and the businesses that they have and the involvement and the connection that her parents have to Israel.
Stop investigating the death of my husband. I don't want to know the truth. You don't need to know the truth. Nobody needs to know the truth. I mean, it's just such a strange thing. But she says, stop. Okay. By the way, she was much more forgiving of Tyler Robinson, the man accused of killing her husband. Maybe she's forgiving of him because maybe she knows he didn't do it. Something to think about. Okay. In the next interview, so there she is sitting with Bari Weiss addressing Candace Owens saying, Candace, stop it. Stop investigating the Egyptian planes and the Israeli connections or whatever this might be. You just stop that. Okay. In this next interview, Erika strangely says, now she's supposedly a deeply Christian woman, and she says Shabbat Shalom. I don't know of any Christian who says this, by the way. That is not a phrase Christians use, not even Zionist Christians, but here she is nonetheless saying it.
It's those little things where, again, he would walk through the door, drop his bags, Daddy's home, take his phone, Friday night, Shabbat Shalom, throw it in the junk drawer, and it was just all us.
Her jewelry looks like she's Russian. She looks like one of those fancy, rich Russian women. Like, doesn't her jewelry look like real
And that's
Russian-esque?
what I always wanted to make so special for him was coming home. I'd always say, baby, I don't care what time you get home. Home is here for you. Your food will never be cold. It might sit out for a little bit, but I'll reheat it. It's fine. And I just want to encourage spouses, don't get mad. It's so easy. Don't do it.
Okay, super weird to just throw in that Shabbat Shalom in there. I mean, did Charlie Kirk really come home, throw his cell phone in a drawer and say to his Christian family, Shabbat Shalom? And why? I mean, if you are doing, I mean, that just goes to show how deeply surrounded you must be. I mean, even if maybe he did say that every time on Friday and he'd be like Shabbat Shalom to people on Fridays, even though he's totally a Christian, that just shows he was like so deeply surrounded by people of the Jewish faith. And then, Zionists. I mean, you just sit there and think, so was he just totally surrounded and he didn't have very many Christian friends? And so it just kind of became habit to say, or did she just drop that in there to like signal that, yes, I'm still pro? I mean, obviously Shabbat Shalom, there's plenty of Jews who say this, who are absolutely anti-Zionist and hate Israel and don't want to have anything to do with the country. But nonetheless, it is a strange thing to be saying suddenly in an interview, and it's like you're signaling to the Zionist crowd, like, I'm still here and I'm still with you. She then talks a little bit more in a different interview, and these are all interviews she's been doing over the last week. She's just been making the media rounds. She's promoting her husband's book. And
promoting a book. She's literally on a book tour. The man hasn't even been gone for a full 3 months yet. Like, it hasn't even been like 3 months, like, comfortably yet. And she's already on a book tour after they have done so much. And it's like, what is the urgency here? What is going on? What is the urgency to do all of this so sudden? It's very strange. Like, why are you guys trying to capitalize on this man's death so much? It's disturbing. But then they want for people to give her space to grieve. She's not giving herself space to grieve. Like, how dare you? What are you guys even talking about? Who the fuck goes on a book tour 3 months after their husband was brutally murdered? Mind you, she's done so many interviews over the last 3 months. And she's done the show, the Turning Point USA show. She's been running the company. Like, she hasn't gotten a breather. So I'm trying to figure out, why is it that you're telling everyday regular people and people like Candace to give her a break when she's not giving herself one? And now a lot of people are talking about when was the last time she saw her kids. I mean, I would hope that they're on tour with her because her oldest daughter is 3, I think, or 4. I'm not really sure, but her kids are pretty young, so they can still be traveling with her. If they're not with her, that's strange to me. Because, I mean, even Beyonce's kids travel with her. So I don't know why your kids can't travel with you, you know? So I would only assume that her kids are with her. If they're not, that's strange. Especially being someone who is always promoting moms staying at home, like the importance of moms being stay-at-home wives and stay-at-home moms to take care of the kids and to be there and nurture the kids, but that she's doing the complete opposite now, when she could have clearly just said, hey, give me 6 months to get myself together and I will come in full-fledged. No, she immediately put her big girl pants on and got to work. So much for letting a grieving wife grieve.
The book is about him honoring the Sabbath, which he did on Saturdays. Another strange thing. That's the Jewish day. The Muslims do it on Friday, the Jews do it on Saturday, and the Christians do it on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
It's very strange that Charlie Kirk would celebrate it on Saturday. It's just all things that just are really odd. But she talks about how they honored the Sabbath.
Apparently, you guys used to actually turn the phones off, at least for a day.
Yes, Charlie would not. He would honor the Sabbath, and that's his last book he wrote, "Stop in the Name of God," is all about honoring the Sabbath. And he had to. It did not happen overnight. This is something that he leaned into. And on Friday night, when he would get home from work, he would turn off his phone. And he would shove it in the junk drawer, and he would say, Shabbat Shalom, shove it in the drawer, and he was full dad mode, fully with the kids, sports mode on Saturdays for college football, and he could breathe. He had this sacred moment to just breathe and to rest and get away from the chatter, get away from the world, and just have a moment to understand that life is so much bigger than the to-do list, than the small problem that you're facing that you'll laugh at 5 years or 5 months or 5 minutes from now. And he was really good about that.
I'm sorry. I don't know if I will be able to speak like that about my husband 3 months after seeing him get assassinated on camera. I don't know if I would be able to easily just speak those words without breaking down on the stage. Like, I get the whole patting the tear ducts with the little napkin. A lot of people can't stand that little white napkin that she always has. I mean, I don't know why. If you wear makeup, you understand that the last thing you want is black mascara running down your face. So I totally understand why she like always is patting at her eye ducts, her tear ducts, my bad, at her tear ducts. I totally understand that. It's just the way she speaks about very intimate moments, and you can tell like she's reminiscing. How can you not break down? Like, I digress.
Again, super weird. Why is he saying Shabbat Shalom? The guy was a Christian. It's just very bizarre. Okay, then she says she saw Charlie in Israel. Let's play this.
But just know that nothing is by mistake. Nothing. I will never forget the time I was in Israel with my husband. Well, that was the second time, but the first time with my mother on a pilgrimage. And I was standing in the ticket line. And I remember looking behind me, and in the snake of the ticket line was a guy who looked very familiar. I had no idea who he was. And I told my mom, this guy looks so familiar. And as a typical mother, she said, go and say hi. No.
I'm sorry. Typical mother who? Whose mom does that? I know my mother didn't do that. I know my grandmother didn't do that. I know my aunt didn't do that. Who's doing that? Telling their daughter in a different country to just go randomly say hi to some guy that she's trying to figure out where he's from. Like, oh, he looks so familiar. Oh, why don't you just go say hi? Are you serious? No one's mom is telling their daughters that they love and care about to do that in a different country. Like, you sure your mom didn't know who he was and like orchestrated him being there, knowing that y'all would eventually cross paths? Are you sure your mom didn't have anything to do with that? And why she was so open and okay with telling you to go say hi to him? No normal mom just tells their daughter to go say hi to a fucking stranger. That is so weird. And the fact that she thinks that that's normal lets me know that she's clueless about life. Like, okay.
We were late for our flight, and I'm not going to come off like a crazy person with that's just weird. That ended up being Charlie.
How random.
Nothing is by coincidence. Now,
Sure.
did we know that no, not until we were like 3 months into our relationship and looking at timestamps, seeing that both of us were in Israel at the same time.
Houseway. Like, it's 1 in a million that you would actually be able to figure out through timestamps on what? Itineraries, text messages, photos, like what? Like, it's very, very, very rare that you would be able to compare notes to be able to determine if you were in a specific place at a specific time when there wasn't anything specific actually happening. So she said she was in a ticket line. She made it seem like she was in a ticket line to go inside of like an exhibit or something, but then it sounded like she was at a ticket line to get on a plane, and he just so happened to be in the same area, maybe. I mean, it sounded a little bit confusing. I'm not really sure, but it's just like, what? Like, oh, I went to that same event. Okay, that's one thing. But how many other dudes that look just like Charlie Kirk could have been there? It's more of a chance that there was probably 10 other guys at that same in that same area that they were in that looked just like that man than me believing that them comparing their notes and them figuring out, oh, you were that guy that I saw. Get out of here. Hey, man, I'm not even going to ask y'all, am I reaching? Because I know I'm not. And honestly, I could care less if anyone thinks that I'm reaching. I think that that's a crock of bullshit.
But nothing is by coincidence when God is within you, okay? So you guys go blaze a trail, okay? God bless you all.
Super weird. I mean, just to be, we saw each other in Israel. It was fate. And then they went to Israel another time and apparently hung out with Netanyahu's son, Yair Netanyahu, which he confirmed. Here's a photograph of Erika Kirk with him. Now, I don't know. I know she met him with Charlie, but she might have even met with Yair prior to Charlie. But this is the tweet that Yair put out there. And he says, I had the privilege of having lunch with Charlie and his wife, Erika, in Jerusalem when they visited Israel a few years ago. The Charlie I met was so young, yet wise beyond his years. I met someone deeply knowledgeable in history and geopolitics, someone who understood the importance of Israel to America, to the Christian people, and to the Christian faith. He recognized that our shared Judeo-Christian civilization is under existential threat from both radical Islam and the radical left. May he rest in peace, and may his legacy and message live on. So, okay, these are all strange things, right? That are like, why are you guys trying so hard to just go full in on this? As people are suspecting, many people suspect the state of Israel in having a hand in Charlie Kirk's assassination. A lot of people aren't saying that Tyler wasn't involved in some way. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. But what we do know is that the official story we've been fed, it's full of holes. People are not buying it. So we're trying to, so people are wanting to learn a little bit more, and there was a large number of cell phones at the event registered to foreigners, a lot of them disproportionately Israelis.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got these Egyptian planes, and they made sudden stops and they disappeared sometimes on the flight tracker. Like maybe they made stops in Israel, dropped some people off, and then went on. They had some kind of moments where they disappeared on the tracker and stuff. So there's all these really strange things. And then there's this kind of doubling, tripling, quadrupling down of like, oh, Shabbat Shalom. We loved Israel. We're still, and Candace, stop. Just stop. Very, very strange. Okay. So that's why there are a lot more conspiracies around Erika Kirk. There are people that are saying, let's look more into her. And I think a lot of us have been like, let's give the grieving widow a moment. But she's now putting herself out there doing a lot of different media rounds. And so I think it's fair now to maybe take a look at some of the conspiracies. So let's start off with her parents. The claim is, have you ever looked into her dad, Carl Kenneth Franceby? I don't know if I'm saying her maiden name right, but the claim is that her father worked in the defense sector and even chaired the Israeli division of Raytheon and was an integral part in the development of the Iron Dome. This claim we could not verify. Now, he does work in the defense sector, but there is no record of the company that he's been working for actually having any sort of contracts with Raytheon or any of that. He's now dead, by the way, but there's no link of him and this claim that he was the head of the Israeli division of Raytheon. Not to say that that's not true. We just could not find that link. And so it doesn't look like that link is there. Now, I don't think her dad is the important one anyway. Apparently, her parents got divorced when she was really young. She was raised by her mother. And her mother's actually the interesting one, because a lot of people online, they're kind of giving this, oh, it's the dad. The dad was the head of the Israeli defense sector and yada, yada, yada. And the mom, she's just a big Zionist. No. The mom is actually kind of a defense contract. I mean, she's very entrenched in the defense contract world. It's the mom who's actually working in the government. She's got various different companies, all within the defense sector. And there's some really strange activity with her mother's companies that I think could be eyebrow raising. And certainly it, at minimum, show that, look, any company that has security or defense contracts or ties probably has a lot of ties to Israel, to Israeli tech, maybe Israeli contracts, and probably wouldn't want to piss them off. If you're in the defense and surveillance sector, you're heavily tied in with the Israelis. So you don't want to upset anybody. You don't want to lose your funding. Now, this is Erika talking. This is back in 2020. And she's talking about her mother, even why they moved to Arizona, why her mother moved to Arizona. And that was because she was going to be working for the Department of Defense and Department of Homeland Security.
Can I ask a question? It's maybe off topic. How did your mom choose Phoenix?
So she chose to move to Phoenix from Ohio because there was more of an opportunity for a female business owner out here, especially from the standpoint of she was getting involved with the government, so Homeland Security and Department of Defense. And so she had other business partners that were out here that were already in that industry, even one that was a mentor of hers. So it was really convenient to be able to come all together in one place to really have that. But my father ended up moving out here as well because my grandparents had a home out in Sun City. And so it took a little bit to get everyone out here. It took several years, but by that time, everyone was out here. So we had a little bit more family than just us.
Okay, so we know now her mother did work in the Department of Defense and Department of Homeland Security. That was confirmed by Erika. But also look at her LinkedIn. This is Lori Franceby, and she is the chairman and founder of AZ Tech, of G Tech, of E3 Tech, master's degree at University of Cincinnati. So she at least has these three heavily tech companies that are heavily involved in defense sector contracts.
Wow. Yo mom is a G, girl. Yo mom is a G. And Charlie Kirk married into this shit. And I'm sure he was very well aware of what he was getting himself into. But it's like, how do you marry into a family that has like heavy ties with a government and a religion and a way of life that you're not willing to just buy all in? When you know the conspiracies around this community, and like famous people will tell you the whole Illuminati and selling your soul, what do you think, what path do you think that's going to lead you down? And now today, because of this situation and this man being murdered, has opened up conversations surrounding all of those things. And it's not going to stop. It's only going to get worse. So it's like he married into this. Anyone who is in politics, they marry into families that have deep governmental ties And her mom doesn't just have American government ties, she has overseas. Like, what are we talking about? Like, Israel is known for having, like, if anything, okay, so if you guys know what MS-13 is from Scandal, that's pretty much what Israel is. That's what their security team is. MS-13. Like, like Olivia Pope's father, what he was doing, that's exactly how they operate. They operate in the shadows. So it's like this woman's mom has a ton of tech companies that supports this stuff. What did this man think he was marrying into?
Not only that, but she also is on the board for another company called Superfeed, which is interesting. But before we go to Superfeed and what's kind of strange about that one, all of these companies that she has, they're all very much tied to defense contracts. Her own security company, the website says Joint Service Achievement Medal for classified operations during Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom. Okay. So she's clearly heavily in the defense sector, got a lot of contracts with the defense sector. The company that they said that Erika's dad had founded was ATech, or AZTech, sorry. And no, he actually just worked for Erika's mom. So he was actually a subordinate to Erika's mom. At least that's the research. That's what it came back at. It's a little bit confusing because I know that they did divorce at one point, but I don't know if he still worked for her mother's company after they got a divorce, or did he work for the company? And then when they got a divorce, he stopped working there. I'm not really sure what that is, but from the records of what we could find, the dad also worked for AZTech, but he was not the founder and CEO of AZTech. He was instead in a lower position than her mother. Her mother's the founder and at one point CEO. So here's another thing that was a little bit strange. So Superfeed is it's a company that's often heavily connected to TPUSA. A lot of people kind of view it as one and the same as TPUSA, but it's not. It's actually a separate company. And Superfeed basically is a company that gives campaign campaign apps to candidates. And they kind of white label it. So a candidate that TPUSA maybe is backing, they would say, we got an app you can use and you can put your whole campaign on this app and it makes it great for campaigning and yada, yada. And then, the candidate then gets this app, gets the technology for the app, and then puts their own logos and puts their own messaging on it, whatnot. So it just kind of looks like it's individual for each candidate, but it's actually run on the same tech. And Erika's mother is on the board for Superfeed. Well, Superfeed was involved in this really strange scandal, and we don't really know what exactly happened, but Carrie Lake there was a bribery scandal involved with Superfeed and Carrie Lake. And apparently they basically had tried to bribe her to stay out of the race, out of the Senate race. They wanted her to not run. We don't have any clue as to who they wanted to run instead, but there was somebody else that they wanted, and they were basically trying to bribe her to not be involved, or they were bribing. I'm not sure if they were bribing her directly or if they were bribing somebody else, but it was basically the premise of it was they didn't want Carrie Lake to run. And they said, you know what, just wait your turn is kind of where we heard that before. It's not your turn, somebody else's turn right now. And so they wanted her to step aside and let this other person run. And Carrie Lake ended up exposing the whole thing. She recorded a conversation and she ended up exposing it. And the guy that was involved had to ultimately step down from Superfeed. Now, Erika Kirk's mother never made a statement about this. There's nothing on record about her saying anything, but it just goes to show, I think, with the mother being on the board of this company, with these donors being very large and involved in Superfeed to the point where they could actually tell certain candidates like Carrie Lake step aside, it just goes to show how powerful and how politically influential a company like Superfeed is. And the fact that Erika Kirk's mother sits on the board of this company, and the fact that she then has several defense contract companies, and the fact that they've received medals for classified operations during Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom goes to show that her mother is quite prominent and at the top echelons of the defense sector and political sector.
Exactly. So I would be very surprised and very shocked if Charlie had no idea about how deeply entrenched his mother-in-law was in not just the US government, but multiple governments outside of the US. How many tech companies that were probably massively successful, because come on, let's be clear. I'm sure that all of her tech companies were hella successful, because once you get in, all you got to do is just copy and paste. Once you get in and get a really, really, really successful or lucrative contract, oh, it's all up from there. All you do is rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And that's probably why her mom has so many different tech companies. So with that being said, the fact that she also was on another board for a company that was involved in political campaign manipulation lets you know that, okay, it makes a lot of sense as to why Erika jumped up so fast and was so prepared and ready to take over Turning Point USA. I mean, her mom is an OG. like what are we talking about? Her mom prepped her very well to be a woman that could step up and take over any organization, because let's be clear, she probably was going to have to do that for all of her mom's companies. Yeah, bingo. So she probably was already in training to take over her mom's companies whenever her mom either retired or passed away. Because why build all of these prestigious companies and you're not preparing your children to take over those companies? I think Erika's the only child, which would be crazy if she's the only child, because like, wow, why would you only have one child? I mean, adopt a kid for God's sakes, but pretty lonely existence. But it's just like, if she's the only child, I know for a fact her mom was just like, oh no, you're not going to be one of those women that depend on a man to take care of you and to provide for you, because what if something happens to him? Then how are you going to survive? Her mom was clearly the breadwinner in the relationship, and her toughness is probably one of the reasons as to why their marriage didn't last. Because let's be clear, a lot of men can't handle really, really alpha type women. They can't. But I find it quite disingenuous how Erika is putting on this front like she's this delicate flower who just wants to stay at home. Who do you think you're kidding? But then she's pushing this narrative that other women should be like that, even though she's the complete opposite behind closed doors. And now that she's in the limelight, people are calling cap. So all of this is very strange. And I know this video is getting long, but one thing that I'm really, really, really not happy about is how things kind of turned around. So the other day, it wasn't yesterday, day before yesterday, on the 14th, Erika Kirk ended up announcing that her and Candace Owens were going to have a private meeting on the 15th. So instead of them doing the live stream through Turning Point USA, she decided to fly to Candace Owens directly and have a meeting directly with her, right? And it was going to be a private meeting. I kind of think that was a bunch of BS, because it's like, why would you allow for this woman to try to publicly embarrass you on all these news stations? And then when it backfired on her, she conveniently said, well, let's just have a private meeting, because she knew that it was probably going to be the worst move to allow for her guys to go in to this live stream, not being willing to bring Candace Owens in on the conversation. They were just going to get pulverized, right, by the audience for not making any concessions for Candace being a part of that conversation. So with that being said, it's just like, you now let Erika kind of control the narrative by saying, oh, well, let's cancel the live stream and I'm just going to fly to you in person. That is such a mafia move, because like, you know that, and maybe someone is in her ear. It could be her mom, especially now knowing the ties that her mom has to doing stuff like this and being associated with people who do this type of stuff. It's like, I'm sure at this point her mom was like, you need to wrap this up. Like, stop playing around, shut this girl up. I would not be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. So she then says, okay, we're going to have a private meeting. she makes this tweet pretty much saying that, oh, all gossip and tweets and everything regarding this investigation regarding Charlie is going to be put on hold until after our private meeting, and we figure something out. Okay, then Candace then follows up saying she's looking forward to having a meeting, blah 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 blah. So now what it seems like is something took place, and I'm not sure if I feel okay about it. But let's take a
Erika
look.
Kirk met with commentator Candace Owens earlier tonight following weeks of mounting tensions between the two. Kirk announcing the meeting on X, saying she looked forward to the, quote, productive conversation. The National News Desk, Jeff Harris, joining us, and this has been building between the two. Kirk also writing in that post that the two had agreed to pause all public commentary until after the meeting. What details can you share about their conversation tonight?
So in that post on X, Erika wrote that she and Candace would be meeting at some point today for an in-person discussion. And just within the last few hours, we are getting some information on what they talked about. Erika writing around 8:30 tonight that she had a very productive conversation with Candace, who also tweeted that she and Erika spoke for over 4 hours in a conversation that, quote, should have taken place a lot earlier, adding that she will have a full rundown at some point tomorrow. Now, the meeting being arranged as tensions between the two only continue to grow deeper, following repeated unverified claims from Candace that Charlie Kirk's assassination was an inside job, theories Erika has urged Candace to stop spreading.
What do you want to
Well,
say?
she wasn't urging her to stop spreading anything. She didn't even say the woman's name. So who are you talking to? Say my name. She's so afraid of this woman, she can't even say her name. So it's like, if you really about business, say the woman's name. Because if it was anybody else who had balls, they'd be like, Candace, stop talking about my husband. Period. That's all she should have said.
Her and the other people that are putting these lies out into the world right now.
Stop. That's it. That's all I have to say. Stop.
While some have accused Owens of exploiting Kirk's death for views, others have defended her comments, demanding that Turning Point explain what she's claiming to have uncovered. Owens, who served as Turning Point's communications director from 2017 to 2019, has been spreading theories about Kirk's death since shortly after he was assassinated, suggesting in part that Turning Point and American supporters of Israel were involved.
Okay, so let's go back to these tweets. Erika Kirk. So she ended up posting this yesterday. Had a very productive conversation with @RealCandaceO. More to come from both of us. Looking forward to AM Fest this week. Time to get back to work. Are you serious? The way I'm palming my forehead right now. Are you serious? And anyone who has been a part of this whole little investigation, rabbit hole is what a lot of people love to call it with Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk investigation. I mean, if you seriously think that people are just going to be like, oh, I guess that's it. We're going to wipe our hands of it and move on. Erika said, oh, the conversation was productive. I can't wait for AmFest. Another goddamn event that she's promoting. Time to get back to work. Are you serious? So we just supposed to forget everything, all the evidence that's leading to there being some type of real conspiracy here. So we're supposed to just say, oh, that's it. What? Okay. So then Candace Owens then texts or messages right after that. Erika and I had an extremely productive 4.5-hour meeting that I think we both feel should have taken place a lot earlier than it did. Yeah, it should have. Who was in Erika's court that made her do that meeting? Finally, okay? We agreed much more than I had anticipated. Of course, we also disagreed on various points and people as well. Most importantly, we were able to share intel and clarify intent. Okay? I will, of course, have a full rundown for you all tomorrow as I am currently exhausted. But I wanted to quickly let you guys know that absolutely nothing was held back, and the immediate result was that tensions were thawed. Girl, whatever. Don't nobody care that y'all ended up kikiing like little schoolgirls who should have been friends a long time ago. Like, clearly there was some type of tension, because women who end up marrying men with female best friends, they tend to not like that, and they tend to be very jealous of the best friend. I mean, I was in a situation like that where that happened to me. I was the best friend, and my male best friend's girlfriend was extremely jealous of me. So I totally understand how that feels. So it's just like, okay, y'all could have became friends a long time ago. What does that have to do? Okay, I just want to know. I'm interested in knowing. So she's going to post something later on tonight. She's going to go live later on tonight. We shall see. And honestly, if you ask me, this is not going to turn out well for Candace, especially if she chooses to then back off and back down, because you're too deep into the shit now. It can't just be that, oh, she made some clarifications on a couple things. Oh, I was never on an Egyptian plane. No one ever said you was on an Egyptian plane. Okay. So it's just like at the end of the day, what could she have possibly said to clarify things that you were looking into and connections that you were making? That if we all have a brain, we know that a lot of those connections make sense because of past incidences that took place in America. So there is no wiping this shit clean and just moving on. Yeah, we shall see. I don't think this is going to fare well for Candace, and she better be ready for the backlash. But this is a video of her speaking about the situation.
4.5 hours later, I'm alive. I'm totally fine, and I'm sorry. I was going to do a show for you guys this evening, but I am truly exhausted. Very productive conversation. I asked every single question. I mean, from Egyptian planes to Turning Point USA Faith, and I was very surprised by some of the answers that I got, and I think they were also very surprised when I shared certain intel. This probably should have happened a very long time ago, but I wanted to let you guys know that I am alive, and I will have the full rundown for you guys tomorrow of what transpired. And yeah, I think it was definitely a very big step in the right direction. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, we shall see. I don't know how this is going to turn out for you, girl. But anyways, that's the video, and that kind of sums up a lot of what has been going on over the last 3 months. That has completely caused the Republican Party to lose their minds and to start imploding on each other. Now I guess we can get back to the Epstein files. Is that what this is going to turn into? Now she can start investigating the Epstein files again? I don't know. We shall see. Honestly, I'm really just we shall see tonight. She's probably going to go live around like 8 p.m. 7 p.m. Eastern, which I think she's Central, so it'll probably be like 7 or 8 p.m. her time, 9 p.m. everyone else's time, or 9 p.m. Eastern if you're on the East Coast, and then of course earlier if you're on the West Coast. Oh, I don't know, y'all, but let's have a discussion in the comments section. What are you guys' thoughts? As of right now, that is it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
I'll be back.